Welcome to today's show where I will be interviewing my oldest son, Dylan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mother.
We're going to be talking about gaming, which is usually a hot button about how much time kids are usually on their computers. And it was actually in response to this post that I'm looking for. Hold on. It's the title of the TED Talk is Stop Thinking of Your Kids' Gaming Time as Wasted Time, and Here's Why. And I think it's really well written and it touches a lot of points. But what it got me thinking is a lot of this perspective that's being given is always usually from the parent's perspective. And I really thought it was important to hear from a teen's perspective because Dylan started gaming at a very young age and he's 17 now, almost 18. And he's still very actively gaming. And it does, from my perspective, look like sometimes he's doing nothing. But then we talk and I've learned like, wow, all this stuff's happening. So I just thought instead of it being another parent perspective, it'd be interesting to hear his perspective. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So Dylan, do you remember your like earliest memory of gaming?
Well, yeah, I was with Dad. We were playing, it was Dad and Jade, my sister. We were playing a Legend of Zelda game. And as time like flew by. We played it for hours and hours and hours. And it just like felt so invested. I mean, like as I got older, the types of games I played changed a lot. But I'll always have these early memories of just hanging out with my family, playing games. So it got me into it.
I think it's funny because like our cat's named Link. The kids still have like a old Wii set up downstairs where they still play together. And it's something that they've all shared. Like I've never really participated too much. I get dizzy watching all the movement. So I do feel sometimes like it's like an outsider thing, which is really weird because as a kid I really liked. Like I think when I think of video games, I think of like the old Mario and Duck Hunt and Atari stuff. And that is so not what gaming looks like now when I watch them play. It's almost like watching a movie. Do you remember like first time that you gamed like on an online space with other people?
Oh yeah. I was like 7-ish. I don't know. It's like when I started playing Minecraft and then Counter-Strike with a lot of my friends. And that's fun to just like mess around and be gaming can be like this really like cool way to make like connections. I don't know if you're a really competitive person, you could be really good at it. But, like messing with your friends is like a big part of it.
So I remember wondering, like when you were little, like you said you started gaming like 6, 7. Mm-hmm. Like you didn't really sit down for much of anything except if you were gaming. And like I remember wondering, like, how am I going to get this kid to like learn to read? And like I think through Minecraft, because you were talking and typing, we helped you a little bit. And all of a sudden, like you were doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Did it become like just natural or just because you wanted, like what drove you to like, do you remember learning to read or was it just like something that happened?
It was just so like natural, I guess. Like, it really depends on the person. Like I pick up things really fast if I'm interested in it. But at the same time, if I'm not interested in something, it's so hard for me to learn it. But like the second it gets any of my attention, then I'll put like all of my focus into it. But I think I'm a very good natural learner. And that was something that I guess the game really helped with since it was like a necessity to understand what was going on. Like when I was playing a mini game or whatever, like and I wanted to know, like I had to pick it up, I wanted to keep playing.
And then in this article, they talk about the importance of leveling up and why sometimes it looks like your kid's been sitting in the same spot 2 days because they're all about leveling up, like whatever they are, wherever they are in the game. It seems like that's stressful.
Stressful?
I don't know. I guess to me to sit in one position and like, because is leveling up like, is there, I guess to me, it seems like there's a lot of failing in leveling up because I believe like we learn so much in failing. Does it feel like failure or does it just feel like a challenge or does it feel like both?
In the moment, I guess kind of both, but like my mindset, I had to change it it was really negative. Like whenever I'd lost or like take a loss, I wouldn't really like look at what I would do. That's how I started streaming and then I started like recording like my gameplays. Looking at it back and like failure, I guess it sounds like really, this could sound stupid, but like failure is like really failure when you don't try to find out why it didn't work, or like why you failed, like once you start looking at why you failed, you can actually learn from it.
I don't think that's stupid. I think that's like so valuable. I think that's so valuable that we've done in business, like where we found success was like looking and like picking apart all the failures.
Yeah.
And like adjusting.
Like, ranking. Yes. Like I guess ranking system in games. Like when I started out playing games, it was more just like dumb fun. But then as I started growing up, I got more and more competitive. I wanted to start playing more, I guess, like online games. So there's a lot of stressful factors that turn gaming from fun into feeling more like a job or a chore. Just pretty funny. Like I've been playing Valorant recently, and I've been trying to climb to the top rank, and I'm stuck in the ranks Immortal 1 and 2, which are like the right before the highest rank you could get. And then it's really stressful to be so close and then to fall down and then have to climb up again. Or some days you're just having your off days. It's like I've been playing at like high ranks in a lot of games in the past 3-ish years. At a certain point, it stops becoming fun, and it's more like, okay, I'm trying to be the best. It's like a sport, you know. Like sports can be fun when you're playing with friends, but if you're really trying to be good at it, it's like kind of it'll get annoying sometimes.
Okay, so when I first heard the term esports, I was like, what? You've talked about like having to learn another language to play with other team members in different spaces. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, when I was playing Overwatch for 2 years, I was in like some semi-pro teams. Not everyone in those teams would know English, or they'd be from all over the place. Like I would sub in for some teams, and I would have to like pick up a little bit of what they knew. So like a Korean was something I had to I tried picking up for a bit, but then I dropped it. I only picked it up for like a week. But just being able to say the characters' names and like what position, like I just enough to get by, you know. I didn't have to learn like an entirely new language to do it, but it's just so I could like get my point across.
Which I think is like kind of the way the world works, right? Like if you need something enough to get you by to get to the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, there was one I did stick with. It was French that I was really interested in. I pursued that one for like longer.
Yeah, I remember that. You got really into that.
Yeah.
How do you handle like the stresses that you were talking about? Like there's some like tools that you use.
Recently I've just been playing other types of games, or like just taking breaks. I'm someone that can't really watch like TV and sit still. Like I like interacting whatever I'm doing or watching. So either just taking a break, relaxing is probably the best thing you could do. But I've been just playing other games that don't require competition. Games that I could just sit back, relax, and like let my mind rest for like an hour, get back into it. Because like if you're trying to be good at a game, you can go at it like 100% all the time if you want, but you're not going to like improve that much. If you don't take breaks to like absorb all the information, then it's like not going to get you anywhere.
I thought it was weird when I first started hearing you guys say like you guys were watching other people play games. But now that I know a little bit more, it's like you're watching for strategies or things to improve on or change or try. Is that?
Yeah, it's like watching anyone that's like is better than you at something. Like even if you're like, let me think of an example. Like when I used to go to like parkour class, and I would see like the instructors do like all these like crazy things, right? It's cool to watch, right? It's like, oh, how do they do that? Like I want to ask them, like I want to know. Like that's why I like watching streams. So I used to watch streams a lot because I would watch all these people better than me, and like I would ask them questions and like what they did to like improve, or like what's like their thought process. Like it's cool to see people like do things better than you. Like it's always a cool thing. I mean, depending your mindset, but
do you feel like it's more accessible too, like in an online space like that, and like in the gaming community? Like are people more willing to share their tricks of the trade or their skills?
Yeah, I think because a lot of it just comes from playing. Like I guess it's cool to see like watch streams and see what these good people are doing, but I like having my own like play style, doing my own thing, so I don't like to copy exactly what they do, but I like having it in mind, right? And I haven't seen anybody be secretive and keep like, oh, this is like the key to becoming good at games, right? It's like you have to put in time in it and work smart.
What's one thing you wish I would have understood about your gaming when like maybe I was telling you to like do something else or getting frustrated?
I think it's understandable, because like as much as it can be a beneficial thing, I think it can be detrimental. I know a lot of people that just can't control their temper when they're playing, and that's something you have to get under control, or else it'll lead to issues and you spending lots of money on new keyboards and stuff. But I don't know. I think you're very understanding of it, and I appreciate that. But I know it's not the case for everyone out there. If your kid is having some, I guess, mental, I don't know, is there like a nice way to say mental obstacles from the game, then like don't like do things like, oh, I'm gonna turn it off, or like add more stress to the situation. I guess try to alleviate the stress. But if they're being like rude, then just like you'll have your method, I guess. I don't know.
I don't think you were ever rude, but I think sometimes you were frustrated and like. Yeah. I know, like, sometimes we would go somewhere and you're like, I gotta be back because we're gonna play in this game or tournament. I don't know, what do you call it?
Yeah, it's like a
Tournament?
Yeah, like I would always like to be on time.
I think you really made it a priority. That was kind of where I saw you growing, like, oh, you're prioritizing, like you made a commitment and you're prioritizing it over an event or something.
Yeah.
But like, I guess as parents, like sometimes we're like, where is this leading to? And I think I've been able to organically see it, like when you learn to read. Like I could tie it to like tangible things, right? And then Logan's also started gaming at a very young age on an online space, and you were gaming online, but like I didn't know enough to be worried about who you weren't talking to. With Logan, he goes from like 0 to 60 in anger and in frustration when he can't get somewhere or do something. And so like we had recently the issue where like I had to ask his friends parents to like unfriend him because I couldn't figure out how to do it in the game. I feel like, yes, you and your friends messed with each other, but I didn't hear that same language. Like you guys weren't hateful towards each other or hurtful. Like you guys messed with each other, but maybe in a gentler way. Or is that just my recoloring?
From what I remember, it wasn't ever that bad, but it is a different time from then. I don't know how his friends talk to each other. It's like it all really depends on the group, you know. There's always going to be those friendships that are like a little bit more toxic, I guess. But I don't remember ever being like that. It was always like
so I think I had that worry. So what do you think, like for people like me now or that are parenting, like Logan's 8 and he's like playing Minecraft and Roblox and Fortnite.
Oh man.
And they're all about it, and you know they're stealing and taking things and like killing. I don't know how it works, but
it's part of the game. It's like if they can't handle it, then they like are like that. Those things will happen. They probably shouldn't play until they're older. It's like basically it's like playing soccer and getting mad that somebody else kicked the ball before you, right? It's like you're gonna throw a fit or you're gonna play, right?
Yeah.
It's like gaming's not like a crazy like serious thing. But like if you're gonna play a game that involves competition and you can't handle that, then it's like you probably shouldn't. You should play something that's more laid back and something you can all chill. I don't know.
In the article, and I'll post the article in the show notes because I really thought it was like some really good points. But when you started getting into gaming, was it because you wanted to, or you wanted to have something to talk to you about your friends that everybody else was doing already too?
This kind of caught my interest. It was like it looked fun. I remember seeing somebody like play Minecraft for the first time, and I was like 8 or something, and I was like, "Whoa, that's kind of cool!" And I was like, "I want to try it," and I was like, "Oh shit, I can play with my friends. That's cool too." Like,
is it weird when you're playing with adults and you're a kid or
no? I don't think so.
Or...
I don't. I mean, maybe if you're like really little, if you're like 10-ish around that, like to like 13. I think once you're around like 16, 15 and up, it's like it's really not weird. Below that kind of can be, you know, like if you have like a really high voice, sometimes people will like pick on you. It's really funny. But
is there any creepiness when you're playing?
There can be, yeah. There was a lot. I've like witnessed in small communities. That's why you kind of have to be like aware, you know, of like your surroundings, and sometimes you can trust people and it won't be like who you thought. But that's like that happens in real life. That's not an online specific thing, right? So as long as you're somewhat smart, you're fine socially. Like just keep, you know, you don't tell everyone all your details in life, but you can get like friendly with someone. Like I don't know, meeting strangers online is like it's like this. I guess it's like this thing you should be careful with, but you shouldn't be too cautious. Like you don't have to be too guarded. You just have to be like aware, you know. But like I've met like a lot of online friends that I've known for like 4 to 5 years, and they feel really closer than like a lot of friends I've known in real life for a while. And I trust them a lot, and it's cool. I got to like know them. Stuff, and that's all through just being stupid in games and some cool connections.
Is there any like things safety wise, like I don't know, I guess I'll just keep bringing your brother back up because he's in that age group that you think that like should be in place or should be talked about to make gaming safer?
Yeah, I think a lot of people his age won't understand or won't care about like what you tell them. In that sense, they'll kind of just be like, oh, it's like stupid, whatever. Because I was kind of like that. I guess you kind of just have to watch. You have to like watch them, kind of. I guess I would say like that's what I would do with my kid. I would just be like, I wouldn't like stalk everything they're doing, but if I see they're like being kind of like really secretive about who they're talking to, I would be like a little worried, you know. But that doesn't mean routinely like checking in them and like making it like a prison. It's like
so like having trust.
Yeah.
But I also feel like there's like a want to be liked or included, so that like you kind of are still, especially when you're young, trying to figure that out.
What do you mean?
Like your brother, when he's gaming, like he's trying to be cool still, you know?
Oh.
Or like sometimes he talks too much and then he doesn't like it talked back at him. But I get it. Like that's kind of a parent's to kind of monitor what's going on.
Yeah.
When I mean connection, I mean like, okay, so you talked about like learning French and learning a little bit of Korean, but then you also started like creating logos and you started like learning how to program. You want to talk about like what did gaming lead you down those roads?
Yeah, I think it was like I don't know, it's like a really like this is like burst of like random interest. Like the games I make aren't really competitive. It's more games just like I can relax to. That's what like I was trying to like I was looking for a game that was just kind of like satisfying. I really don't know how to describe it. But like I had the idea satisfying in my head, and I looked at some languages and I kind of just picked it up out of like random interest, and I've been doing that for like 3 years. And what was the other thing, like making logos?
Yeah, like I guess I think sometimes as parents we're thinking that like you're wasting time, especially if you're unschooling. I think sometimes because the idea is like you get free reign to do and choose what works for you, and so sometimes it's hard to see how learning's happening in those spaces where you're just sitting like, you know, like you're in your room a lot and then door shut, so like I don't know what you're doing in there, right? But then like, and we learn by the conversation that happens. But for the parents that are barely like going down that road, or they're maybe been doing this for a long time and they're kind of frustrated because they're not, doesn't seem healthy. Like, I guess if you could share some of like the things gaming's led you to.
Maybe this isn't like a gaming specific thing, but like being online just makes learning fun. Like you don't really think about it in the moment. You're kind of just doing your thing. But like if you do stop to think about it, like after the fact, it's like, I mean, I guess it really depends on what you're doing online. But for me anyways, it's like, damn, this makes learning like actually interesting, like something I'm involved with, you know? And that's like not the case, I feel, for like a lot of, I don't know, I guess when I talk to like my friends that go to school, it's really not the case that when they go to school that they enjoy learning or retain any of like what they learned, you know? That's like all the stuff that they actually like value, they know is like usually learned online. It's not like a gaming specific thing. I guess you can learn things from games, but like it's online in general, you could learn a lot more from.
So like now that you're like talking about college, and I know that it's like important for you to go to like you're looking at colleges that have esports teams.
As I'm getting older, I'm like looking at other options. When you're younger, it sounds awesome to be in some gaming related thing. But like as I'm getting older, I am seeing that I don't want to be like I don't know. I don't want to play games competitively for like most of my life, because it's not for me anyways. I'm competitive to an extent. So like it starts losing a lot of kick to it. I don't know how to like really describe that, but everyone's different. You know? Like I think streaming looks really cool. That's something that I would be happy with doing. I
remember like walking past your room being like, what the hell? Like there's like you were playing songs on a kazoo.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you just play up things for content, you know?
Yeah.
Like when you do it, it's like watching somebody play a game is one thing, but like they're not really doing anything unique or different. It's kind of boring. So sometimes you want to like just something different. So. I'm
always amazed like how your multitasking works, because like sometimes I walk in your room and like you're doing a stream, you're playing a game, I don't know, you're listening to something on the other ear of your earbud, and you're like managing it all, and you're having a conversation, like you know, I don't know, through a stream. And so like I think there's a lot of multitasking that I see you do. And now with Logan, like I swear he was born with an iPad or a Switch in his hand. And I see him do the same thing. Like he's watching TV, he's on a Switch, he's looking at something on his iPad. Does it get boring? Is it when you're not so visually stimulated like that?
It's created this environment where like if I'm not focusing, it's hard to focus on one thing, I guess, since most of the day I am focusing on multiple things. But when the fact that I don't have to at certain things feels weird, I guess, if that's what you're asking. But I think that's more of just like a person thing. It's not a thing I picked up from like games.
I think it's a technology thing, because I mean, we have a tech company, so like we're obviously around tech all the time. But like me and your dad grew up without the internet, without cell phones. Like that came later in our lives. Like and then you guys were basically born into them. Like you always had a world with internet and always connected. So like when we go camping or we go somewhere where it's like not forced option, and we all kind of reset.
That's nice. I like it. Camping is like, it's one thing that's like not really hard for me, I guess. I don't know. It just feels natural. It's nice. There is subtle things like watching movies isn't easy for me. No. I get so bored because I feel like whenever I'm watching a movie, and either it has me or it doesn't, you know. And if it doesn't have me, it's like I'd rather like be playing a game or like streaming or doing something.
I've noticed that's the same thing with like you guys don't watch TV.
Yeah.
Like none of you guys have like ever been TV watchers. And like it's funny because I lose myself. Like I remember you standing in front of me going ding dong. Like I can lose myself in front of in a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in the article it says here's a simple solution. Start a conversation with your gamer kid by asking them these 3 questions.
Gamer kid.
What games do you play?
Valorant, Overwatch, Minecraft, Stardew Valley.
Why do you enjoy playing those particular games?
Because I like being competitive. I just like being good at things I do.
Can I watch you game sometime?
Sure. These questions are really weird. I don't know. These feel like super robotic.
I think it's just kind of hard when you're not a gamer. Like your dad games or used to game way more than he does now. And so I don't. So sometimes it's like watching you guys speak another language. Another thing you might want to talk about, I think where that you didn't cover when I asked where gaming has led you, like you know a lot about building like gaming PCs. So like you built some and made money building them for your friends, which is like a business. And then you're also like really tech support when people are gaming and having issues. They'll call you and you'll walk them through how to fix something.
I think it's also just being in this environment with like dad's business and all that. Just kind of growing up around it. But yeah, I guess I've learned a lot of things that I didn't think I was learning in the moment, but I was. Probably just passive learning.
When we maybe haven't valued your gaming, or we have dismissed it, or is not a big deal. Like, how did that make you feel?
I don't know. I guess it's something that didn't really like bother me a lot. I guess, or maybe when I was younger, it might have. As I've gotten older, if you don't think so, it's like whatever. Like, what is your question? Like, does that make me feel like sad?
But so that maybe like I don't hurt your brother, because you know how like angry and sensitive he can get.
Yeah.
Like, what are some things I can do to like preserve our relationship where he feels like that it's just respected, but then I can also say like, dude, we need to go outside, or we need to do something, or
just like respecting that. But it really depends on the person. Like if you tell me to like stop and like I know you're understanding about it and stuff, then like I'll listen. But if you're telling me to stop because you think it's like a dumb thing, or like you're being mean about it, then I probably won't listen, you know. Or I'll be like really like I'll push back more. But I think like if a kid and a parent can have like an understanding, like a level of like respect for each other on it, then they'll be more likely to listen. But in my mind, that's like anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like building that respect. I don't know how to do it. Like it just happens, you know. So many variables.
You've been unschooled your entire life. You've never gone to school. Well, you went to OSHA for like summer stuff.
Yeah.
What do you feel like your overall, now that you're at the end, not learning, but in school, like, you know, you're going to be 18 in a couple of months. Like if somebody's curious thinking like, should I be unschooling? Should I not be unschooling my kid? Where do you feel like you've benefited? And where do you think like if you could do it all over again, you do something, what else would you do?
Like I wouldn't change anything. I would just start everything I like did earlier just so I could be better at it now, you know, which is like, isn't really helping anything, but like toss your kid in everything. That's what I would do. And if like they don't like, at least keep them like stuck to one thing. That's maybe what I wish. Because like I remember I stopped doing a lot of things. Like I remember like Krav Maga, the parkour thing, and I would get like angry at some of the teachers, and I would just not want to go. I would just like, depending on like how bad, if the teachers aren't that bad, just make your kid go, because like they'll appreciate it in the long run, you know.
So you wish that we would have kept you in some of those things.
Yeah,
or you don't want to go.
Yeah, but like at the same time, I'm not like, I feel like I wouldn't be that different now, so it would be nice. It didn't happen, you know.
Do you feel like your game, because since you started early and then you got pretty much at high levels of like Overwatch and then now Valor, your gaming experience gave you life experience? Like it's helped you form out like your interest and what you want to...
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've talked to like a lot of people about their careers and like what they did in college and all that, and I was like, it's kind of gave me like perspective on like what I might want to do. And like what the reality of those experiences are like outside of just reading it on the website of like the college and all that. It's and like the jobs, you know, it's given me like, I guess, like a lot of insight. It's helped me a lot more than I would have learned otherwise. When
you get asked that question, where do you go to school? What's usually your response?
I'll always be like, home. Just like, I don't know. Like I said, there's like a lot of misconceptions. People will think like you're really like awkward, like which it can be, or like you don't really have many friends. But that hasn't been my case. But like I keep saying, everyone's different. My experience won't be yours.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's what I get. Like you've always been really, really social. and your sister was like so not social. Now that we're raising Logan and he's social, but like as long as he's the alpha or he doesn't want to be social, I'm always open and wanting like feedback on like what I could do different or better. But I think Jade's kind of said the same thing, and you just said the same thing. Like if I knew everything I knew now, I'd kind of be doing the same thing. Like
I think I'll just probably do it sooner. And I guess obviously if I had my brain now and my younger body, then I'll do it better, you know. But it's like there's not much I would change. I'm really happy with how my life is. I think the only reason why I say I wish I was stuck in those things is because I think every kid has those frustrations, and sometimes they don't. It's hard to tell, but they don't mean it when they say they don't want to do something. But they're just like they're so mad they don't think right in the moment. So it's like how Logan is.
Yeah,
it's very in the moment emotional.
Yeah, right. And then like he has a 30-second rebound and he didn't mean it.
Most kids have that.
I've been having this conversation with some of my friends about what education and learning means, because I feel like especially with you, it's pretty freeing. It really looked like you were in your room on the computer, and that's what you did. And then you would check in and you would like tell me about languages or want a book or want to take a class. Or if I offered to take a class, you were always more willing to say yes, where your sister was like, hell no. Do you feel like when you have to learn something, it's easy to figure out how to learn it?
Yeah. I think if I have to learn something, I can pick it up really quick and understand it.
This is a question I get asked a lot, is like, how are they going to learn to do the things they don't like to do? How are they going to learn to do the hard things if you don't basically give them a curriculum or make them?
But like there was times where I just didn't do anything, you know, and then like it hit that I didn't like that. I have to be doing something or else I just get like really like angry. So I started picking things up and I started learning because that was better to me than just not doing anything.
So you're saying that sometimes you would get bored, like do nothing and get bored enough to figure out and just pick something up and try?
It's more kind of, it's like I saw that I wasn't really doing anything. Mm-hmm. And like I feel like in my mind I can only not do something for so long until I break and I have to find something, you know. Yeah, there was like a 2-month period where I wasn't really doing anything, and then I kind of just jump started myself. That's like
they call it like the power of the pause. And I think like because you guys are home, everything kind of loses its sparkle. I know you're a lot like me, sometimes like shiny objects. Mm-hmm. Like, ooh, let's go do that. Oh, wait, let's go do that. Yeah. You know, I think especially with the pandemic, like that really slowed us down because even though we homeschool, we were out and about a lot.
It's weird not seeing friends. We hung out like a lot in person. So like not being able to do that is weird. And that's why I think this like online and like gaming and stuff now is like kind of like important more than it was before. Because it's like a big way for your friends to like hang out. The closest thing you can really do besides meet each other right now.
Well, like you and Jax basically grew up together. Now he's on the East Coast and you guys are still like gaming and connecting. And like, I think that's kind of special. I see how it's created bonds. Yeah. Maybe. Sometimes they worry because like you're talking to people. I have no idea. Like I always joked when you were little, like, okay, you may think you're talking to like somebody your age, but it's like 40-year-old man in his underwear, you know? And that was kind of like my way of letting you know, like not everybody's safe without it being like this big, bad, scary wolf. Yeah. But like you met your first girlfriend online. Mm-hmm. And like, do you feel like you can get more authentic relationships online sometimes than in person?
I think so, but that's I keep saying it so much. It's like this all really depends, because like it on like who you meet, and online people they feel more comfortable being themselves without I guess the judgment or something. So sometimes you can make really genuine connections online than you can in real life, but just like the same way you can do that in real life. Compared to online. So yeah, you can. I've known people for like 5 years. Just the amount of times I've like cut someone out because they were weird is so rare. That's my experience.
Oh, it's so rare to cut people out?
Yeah, like because like they did something like messed up or weird. It's like it has never been like the case more than a couple of times. It's super rare.
If somebody was like anti-gaming for their kid, what's one thing that you wish they understood? Maybe it doesn't change their mind and maybe it doesn't do anything, but one thing that like, what the best thing you feel like gaming's given you?
I feel like I had a big impact on like most of my learning, I guess, like understanding of the world. I guess it's like a lot to say for it. There's no downside in just trying to understand it. Right? I feel like you don't lose anything. If at the end of the day that you don't like it, and you think it's like really detrimental, or your kid loves it, and good luck. It's like,
Or do you feel like you're choosing to be right over a relationship? You replace gaming with books. If your kid is really certain types of books, saying that that's not worth anything and that's a waste of time, like would hurt their interest. Is that the same thing like with gaming?
Yeah, I feel like if you devalue your kid's interest like that at all, they're not going to share anything with you, and you're building grounds for like an unhealthy relationship. It's just like with anything, you know. Your kid said like, oh, I really like drawing, and then you're just like, oh, that's stupid. Right? It's like, how would that make you feel? Like, if anything you're interested in, like,
okay,
it would just not be healthy. Like a good decision, in my opinion.
I'm proud of the young man you become.
Thank you, mother.
6 feet tall, baby. The last thing I'm going to ask, I didn't do this perfect. There's a lot of things I did great. A lot of things we learned from and had a conversation. But like, if you could sum up your whole unschooling life in like one word, what's the first word that comes to mind?
One word.
Yeah, like the first one that pops into your head.
Freedom. Like, I don't know. It's like, I really like it because I had so much freedom that I was like allowed to succeed, that I was able to like figure out what I want, fill my head with whatever I wanted, you know?
Everything that you guys tell me, what I didn't do, what I should have done, what we did too much, like it really helps me for the next kid. And the fact that you guys are all spread apart, like Jade 6 years apart. So all the things she told me not to do, I tried not to do with you. And then everything you tell me, like I try to do with your brother. So like somebody that maybe their kids are all spaced together and they don't really have the, or they only have one kid.
They don't have like the age gap.
Yeah. Or they only get one chance at this, like, or they're starting late and their kid's in high school now. Like,
let's just say if they show like interest in something, like just help them pursue it, support them, because like people have made success out of literally everything like you can think of, anything you couldn't think of. If they have interest in one thing, just support them. They'll make it work more often than not.
I loved that. Oh, when I told you about the podcast, what'd you think?
Like, what do you mean? Like earlier today?
Yeah, and just general, I told no, because you've been helping me with like the tech stuff on the podcast. And I think you've all have seen me jump into a lot of spaces, like jump to do this or jump to do that. Is this just another one of my jumping to? Or what, did you think it was weird? Or do you think
it was cool? I think it's cool that like you want to put like your thoughts out there and get other people's. And like I wanted to support you like you've been supporting me, right? So this is like your interest. So I want to support you. And if you decide that you don't want to continue it, then on to the next thing. Like what you did for me, right?
Student has become the teacher. All right. Well, thanks for being on Homeschooling Homegirls. All right. Well, thanks for being here with us today. I love you, baby. Thanks for kicking it with us today. Want to talk about homeschooling and unschooling in between episodes? Follow us on Instagram at Homeschooling Homegirls. Enjoy the process of raising empowered people. You got this.